Hi, and welcome back to It's Never Too Late to Date. We are the channel about dating after the age of 60. And today is our Saturday morning question of the week. And before I read that question for today, I wanted to share some of the success stories that we are seeing in the comments. So here we go. I posted a video last week about dating outside of your race, and this comment was in response to that. Late seeing your video. Thanks for sharing today. I married interracially and have been married for decades. Here's one more that was centered around that same video. I am 62 black male. I got into an interracial relationship when I was in my 40s. What you said is key. If you've had experience with people different from you historically, it will be much easier. I knew what to expect despite dating someone white for the first time. I think this was probably my first girlfriend, first time also, but she knew and interacted with black folks before. She actually asked me out on the first date. That's pretty cool. I love hearing the success stories, and it's great to see that people are relaxing a bit, finding ways to interact with people of all cultures, and getting to know each other just based on your personality and not so much on culture. So, on to our question of the week. Some of this information I meet people all of the time that I find interesting, but I don't know what to do or what to say. Help. This is probably one of the most common things I hear all the time. Um, First of all, where to meet people, but this person doesn't seem to have that problem. They're meeting a lot of people, and once they do, they're not quite sure what to say. And there's going to be plenty of times where you meet people that you find interesting and they don't approach you. And that doesn't mean that they're not interested. It just means they're shy, just like you are. It could mean they're not interesting, but you never know until you reach out. So, first, I'm going to talk a little bit about conversation and how to start, and then go on to flirting. So, you want to stay tuned for that. So, first, back to conversation. When you meet somebody for the first time, usually if you're in a just a small group setting, then it's easy just to say, hey, I've never met you before. My name is Karen, or my name is whatever your name is. Are you from around here? And start the conversation with that, or even start the conversation with, if you're at someone's home and you're meeting somebody new, and you know that they know the owner of the home, you can start your question out with, this seems like a great gathering. My name is, say your name, and then ask them, what's your name? And then once they tell you, to say, well, how do you know? And depending on who you know there, sometimes it's a husband and wife, or just a friend that's having a party or a get together. And try to make the connection there. And once you've made that connection of how they know them, usually there's a story behind it. And you can continue the story on that way. So the two questions that I use the most are you from around here, or where are you from? And then also, how do you know the host? Now, if you're out at a big function, um, and you are just mingling or standing, usually just standing watching, pick somebody that you see that they have on something that you like, whether their shoes are unique or their sweater's unique. If you're a woman and you're noticing a guy, then usually something that he's wearing, or maybe a haircut, or the fact that he's clean shaven or not clean shaven, and just go up, introduce yourself, and just say, I noticed you because I really like how you've got your beard shaved. Or I love the shoes that you're wearing. Or maybe even start the conversation out with, hey, I don't know anybody here. My name is Karen. What's your name? And just be totally honest. Let people know that you're there and you don't know anybody. And most people are happy to either include you in their conversation or just to chat, because they're there by themselves also. And you were a little bit more bold than they were, and you reached out before they had a chance to. And you're just having fun with it. You're not thinking that, oh, I'm going to go up to that guy. I really like him. I hope he likes me. I hope he asks me out for a date. That may or may not happen, but your goal is just to meet more people. And if you're in a place and you find somebody interesting, then you want to focus on them. You don't want to focus on whether or not they like you, but you want to focus on them because that will get them talking. And one of the main things I find with people who have a hard time starting a conversation with somebody else is because they're thinking about themselves. And what am I going to say? What do I have interesting to say that this person might like or whatever? You've got to let go of that and go toward, hey, I've never met you before. Are you from around here? Oh, wow. Well, where did you go to school? Or where are you from? And make the conversation questions about them. People are happy to talk about themselves. Now, if they're smart, they're going to put the question back to you also. So just remember, you're being curious and you're getting them to talk. You're not necessarily trying to get every information about them that you can. It's just getting them to open up and to chat. And what's funny is I have been in situations where I have started a conversation with somebody, asked them many, many questions about themselves, and they've never really asked me much. So they were doing all the talking. And then later on, I'll hear from the host or somebody else that, oh, well, they really liked you. They said that you were really interesting. And I'm thinking, well, I really didn't say much about myself. So it was how it made them feel that I was asking them questions. It's really important and that you ask people questions about themselves. They will continue to give you information and sometimes more than you want, but you can kind of steer the conversation from there. Now, on to say that you are chatting with somebody and you seem to be hitting it off a little bit, just talking. If you want to take it to the next step with flirting, flirting is the way that we communicate with each other that we're interested in each other. And a lot of times it's just a touch on the arm or a laughing at somebody's jokes if they tell any, keeping really good eye contact, not staring or zooming in, but making sure that you're paying attention to them when they're talking. It shows that you're listening and shows that you're interesting. But the touch is really, really important. And then the other thing is when you're talking with someone, a lot of times if you're embarrassed and you're shy, you'll not face the person that you're talking to. You've always got an open stance away from them. Well, you want to make sure that you are turned and directly toward them. Now, if you are wanting to include somebody else in the conversation, then sure, you're going to want to have an open stance. But if you're interested in that person particularly, make sure that you're facing them, that your toes are facing them. If you're standing, now if you're sitting next to each other or sitting at a table, one of the body language cues is to, like, if you cross your legs and you're sitting say next to them at the table or across from them at the table, you want to make sure that your crossed leg toe as well as your uncrossed leg toe is pointing in the direction of that person that you're talking to, because that'll keep your shoulders facing them as well. When you turn away, some people will do that to be coy, just to see if the other person will really engage them to get their full attention. But if you want somebody to know that you're interested in them, then be sure to use that body language cue and keep that shoulders facing, good eye contact. Every once in a while, when you're chatting about something, reach out, tap on their arm or their shoulder, and it doesn't have to be a lengthy touch, but just to reach out and touch. Now, if you talk to many guy friends of mine who have felt like, oh, she's such a flirt, she's always touching my arm or doing this, and so they get an idea that somebody's interested in them. And some people are just flirt. That's just how they communicate, and it may or may not mean anything. So you just have to, if somebody's doing that to you, tapping on your arm or whatever, don't assume that you know what they're telling you. Then you just have to look for other cues as well. And sometimes people will do it out of nervousness and if they're laughing at a joke or whatever. But some people just are over friendly. But if you're not, and the other person that you're meeting with has been, just kind of standing by themselves, or really not that way with other people, you can tell if they're definitely interested in you. So use some of the little flirting techniques, whether it's eye contact, whether it's a touch on the arm, the body language cue that facing them when you're talking, and then giving them your full attention, and be sure to communicate well. Ask them lots of questions about themselves and keep that conversation going. And if it turns out that the person is not at all what you thought, and you're thinking, I'm going to move on a little bit, be polite, make a comment, and just say, hey, as I mentioned, I don't know anybody here and I'd love to get to know some more people. Hopefully we'll get a chance to talk later, or I'm going to move along and mingle with some other people and get away just that easy. All right. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I would love to hear some of your stories about how you interact out in public as far as flirting goes. If you've got any flirting techniques that I have not mentioned, that would be awesome. I'd love to hear them. Please be sure to share with anybody that you know that's looking at dating at this age. And be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video.